Where are they now? The work gangs are scattered now, but many of the laborers are still together in Kamagasaki. The road to the bottom ends in this suburb of Osaka, a refuge for 40,000 dropouts, criminals, untouchables, and all those who have rejected or been denied permanent employment. Tokyo has its own equivalent, the Sunya district. But it was the people of Kamagasaki who built Expo 70. Apart from a small population of resident shopkeepers, the workforce relies on day-to-day labor. It's a rule of Kamagasaki that no employer asks for credentials or identification. Men drift here without their families. There's no place for women in this labor system, and they're outnumbered 9 to 1. 20 minutes after these pictures were taken, we were all arrested. With considerable courtesy, the police explained that our presence could provoke a riot. We were finally released under strict orders not to return without higher authority. An appeal to Tokyo was unsuccessful. With equal courtesy, the Foreign Ministry explained that they could not overrule the Osaka bureaucracy. There was only one man with power above the police and the government. Mr. Yamada, the gangster boss of Osaka. We met in a friend's apartment on the outskirts of the city. Mr. Yamada, his lieutenant Mr. Fugi, the Kamagasaki district boss, and bodyguards. The Japanese gangsters, the Yakuza, live from prostitution, gambling, protection, and legitimate business. The rival brotherhoods wield power everywhere. Some of them guard government ministers, protect corporations, even help the police in times of civil disturbance. Mr. Yamada moves in different circles. He has sprung out of a slum to control a city. Kamagasaki, he told us, is quite different from other places. We have to cooperate with each other, fight for better conditions. The Yakuza are savagely patriotic, fiercely loyal to each other, assured by the strength and ferocity of the pack. A missing joint, amputated by the offender in front of the others, was the price extracted for failure. Ritual tattoos proclaim over every inch of their hide that they are the Yakuza, descendants of the landless samurai who in Japan's dark ages preyed on the corrupt and lawless society that had cast them out. Not only the leaders, but every man in this room is a peasant by origin. Individually, they are ill-educated, dispossessed. But in their strength of purpose, their tribal unity, their ready violence, they're equal to the most coveted, the most meritocratic. In Kamagasaki, the Yakuza run gambling and prostitution. But they're also the only voice raised on behalf of the people, bullying and threatening the casual employers for better conditions. They're at one time predator and prey. Mr. Fugi appealed for his people with a passion. Tell the world about Kamagasaki. Shame this government into action. Their press and television have lied and whitewashed. My Japanese blood beats for my people. They have been neglected and cheated. No whitewashing, no exaggeration. And we will allow you into the heart of Kamagasaki. Mr. Fugi kept to his side of the bargain. I hope we honored ours. A night in this hen coop, 140 yen. Dimensions 4 by 6 and just 4 feet high. The daily... This is the temple of Hokkekyo on the outskirts of Tokyo. We came to this place to meet men who said that they had a valid solution to the problems which beset Japan. This is a Buddhist temple. It belongs to the sect of Nichiren Daishonin. For 700 years, this group has always gained strength in times of national trouble and distress. Their message is one of patriotism, of zealotry, and a spiritual regeneration in which Japan will lead the rest of mankind. The Sokogakai, too, follow the teachings of Nichiren, but these are different people who find a different message in his words. Mr. Keizo Takei has attained the highest status the sect can offer. He is a Buddhist Grand Monk. Once he was a mercenary killer, a successful gangster. He joined the temple 8 years ago. Now it is his. He is the Abbot of Hokkekyo. Keizo Takei is president of Zenai Kaigi, a federation of 500 right-wing organizations. He also enjoys the unquestioning loyalty of the Yakuza, the gangster brotherhoods of Japan. Takei has powerful political friends. During Eisenhower's 1960 visit, 47,000 of Takei's followers, including 18,000 Yakuza, helped the police line the ceremonial route. He personally provided a bodyguard for the last Prime Minister of Japan. He has himself led armed attacks on Union picket lines. The Abbot reconciles all this easily with his vocation. What would a monk be, he says, if he did not love his country? He boasts of killing by the gun, the sword, and the spear. If I thought you were dishonorable, he told me, you would not leave this temple alive. If Japan has a godfather, it is this man. Ah! A unit of one of Takei's private armies summoned to the temple of Hokkekyo. In the innermost sanctum of the temple, the Abbot has summoned a meeting of his most trusted followers. The first to be received, the political bosses, led by Mr. Osaka. On Takei's left, Minegoro Ogashima, one-time head of the Nippon Kokuraikai, a major Tokyo crime syndicate. Now he is a politician and the Abbot's second-in-command. Next, senior Yakuza who have come obediently to the temple in response to Takei's command. In all, 500 gangsters representing brotherhoods from all over Japan. contingent from a second private army, full-time professionals in Takei's pay. Altogether, so the abbot claims, he has 400,000 followers and 2 million people who loosely support his philosophy. But in times of crisis, he admits, he has only 400 zealots ready to lay down their lives for him. This is a minority movement, but one which has strength and influence from the slums to the cabinet room. I could arrange a coup d'etat tomorrow, Takei told us. I have the men and I have the money. These then were also men who were concerned with Japan's time of trouble. They listened rigidly to their leader. Takei had called this meeting in our honor. He thanked his followers for coming hundreds of miles in the heat of summer, ready to expose their idea of the path which Japan must take for her salvation. The first to speak, Mr. Bokusui Arahara, a Christian pastor and a member of the Central Committee of the Zenai Kaigi. He blamed the American-imposed democratic constitution for the materialism, the unhappiness, the spiritual emptiness abroad in the land. He called for a return to the safer, stronger values of the past. The emperor must be restored to his divine state. The army must be massively re-equipped. Communism must be totally wiped out in all its many and hideous forms. The next speaker introduced himself as Mr. Kishimoto, propaganda chief of the Zenai Kaigi. Kishimoto punches out his ideological message on the streets of Tokyo. The communists try to destroy all that makes you uniquely Japanese, your powerful traditions of family and nationhood. It is to undo you, so they can recruit rootless people to their cause. But very few people, except for his private armies, pause to listen to his message. We Japanese are lost. We do not know how to use our power and our knowledge. Assert your Japanese spirit, and you will understand the mysteries of the universe. You will learn a respect for human dignity and the individual human being. Mr. Kishimoto is undoubtedly an idealist, receiving no share of the kickbacks or graft gathered by the gangsters who also serve Takei. To carry this message to factories, universities, and army barracks throughout Japan, the members of this private army live in penury, sacrificing family and career. For these people, this is as much a crusade as a political movement. In glaring contrast to these idealists, Mr. Shino, a gangster representing the most powerful element of the Zenai Kaigi. I am a Yakuza. The press, being lackeys of the left, call us criminals. But it is we who defend the weak against the strong. We follow, full of respect, the traditions inherited from our ancestors. The elders of the Osaka Yakuza invited us to witness their innermost ritual, a ceremony of initiation which no outsider has ever seen before. This is a Shinto religious ceremony cast as a wedding service. The Japanese gangsters wield power everywhere. They guard company executives, they thrive on gambling and prostitution, they run labor rackets. But they are also the only effective voice raised on behalf of the people of the slums. They see themselves as the descendants of a band of samurai who in the Middle Ages preyed on the corrupt Japanese society which had cast them out. The Yakuza believe that they are the strong in the service of the weak, but they are at one time society's predator and its prey. In the face of Japan's terrible problems, they have no real answer to offer. They despoil society for its material prizes, but reject any potential we have for progress or humanity. The Yakuza cannot cope with the present, its complexities or its morality. All they can offer to these three young initiates is the dark warmth of the tribe.
以をもちまして本日の親子兄弟縁組杯の儀式滞りなく愛しませましてございます。それでは皆様お手を拝借よー収めましょう。おめでとうございます。おめでとうございます。
The Yakuza chieftains' interests are irrevocably linked with the very forces which are tearing the traditional world they value apart. Like the other right-wing supporters of the Abbot of Hokkekyo, they have in their philosophy the seeds of their own destruction. Ironically, the last speaker to thank the Zenai Kaigai for its support was a member of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, the politicians who have shaped the defective Japan of today. Mr. Nakamura's party, too, speak of a new vision for the future, a solution to the problems of growth. They believe Japan must move its industries out from the most overcrowded and polluted areas, away from the Pacific Belt, into the distant, empty countryside. This is a place called Shibushi, on the southernmost tip of the Japanese island of Kyushu.